almost everybody's got a legit, good number one starter and some good followers behind it. So pitching is definitely stronger. Definitely makes it harder on us older guys, but but it's a lot of fun. But yeah, again, having all the fields that we do have and all the teams that we got, and with all the players, it's just going to be a great season. I'm looking forward to it. So, why don't we talk about, is there any changes, before we get into some games of the week coming up, and actually pick us a game of the week? Are there any changes in the leagues, any rules that we have this year? Anything new? Do we want to talk about if we added some new fields or anything like that this year that might be exciting?
It's funny that you should mention that. We have our two managers meetings. One usually happens in January, the other in late February, early March. We went over a lot of different proposals. There were a few teams had thrown out some proposals to lower the pitching age to 26. There was another proposal to perhaps maybe make it on a limited basis. The 26-year-olds can throw a few innings here and there. Ultimately, that proposal was shot down, so it's going to stay the way it is, 27 and over for pitchers. We had a couple other proposals to change the way the postseason structure, to kind of make it a little bit more like, say, the College World Series is, where you play a little bit of a round robin there and kind of have your pods, if you will. That ultimately was shot down as well. So by the time we were done with going through all the proposals that were brought up in the off season, it's funny, we came back right around to exactly where we were last season. So I guess we're doing something right. Everybody seemed to like the way it went last year, but just a little bit of a refresher course. We take the top 4 teams that finish in the regular season standings. Those teams automatically make their way to the postseason tournament. The next 8 teams have to play their way in. So 5 plays 12, 6 plays 11, 7, 10, 8, 9, and so on. Those 4 winners join the top 4, and that's how you get the 8. Then everybody that's left after that, which this season would be 12, will be put into a double elimination consolation bracket. So no changes to address the question there, but we're going to keep it exactly like it was last year. And Ray, I think that worked out pretty darn well. If I'm not mistaken, I think your ball club made it to the very end against the Suds there in the consolation.
Yeah, we did pretty good last year. We finished there against Suds. We were, I think, 1 game off of making the top 8, and then we get down there. So again, we need when you get teams in that at the postseason, you need everybody healthy. You need all the pitching you can get. So. And it makes it tough, especially at the end of the season where we're scrambling, making sure we get games in, and you get the daylight starting to disappear from us a little bit and things like that. So, I think it's been working pretty well for a few years and stuff. I don't think there's been any problems, anybody really having any kind of heyday. It's a good thing though that guys are coming up with new ideas and things to bring into the league. So, again, guys, keep bringing them. And even if it was something that was shot down last year, this year, 2 years ago, you can always revisit that. So things can always change.
The case in point on that, Ray, there were, I think it was 5-6 years ago, several of us kind of had led the charge to change the postseason structure to a best of 3 as opposed to the double elimination up top. And that was shot down 2 or 3 times until finally in 2016, I came around to the idea, and I think it's worked well the last few years. I really do like the whole series format because you can have a situation where maybe you lose that first game and you get a chance to get it back and win the series. And you don't have to see every team's ace right off the bat. A double elimination, depending on how it shakes down, you can see a team's best pitcher and end up seeing the best pitcher of another team the next game, or vice versa. I think it's more of an accurate representation of the ultimately who's going to be the best teams in the league. So I think guys like the way the postseason is structured, how we get it there. Certainly no easy way to do it with 20 teams, but I think it worked out well. I think the right teams were there at the end.
Yeah, I agree with you. 100%. So I like the way we got it, and unless somebody comes up with some amazing idea, I think this is one that's going to stick for a while, and I think everybody's pretty happy with it. The only way I think we change that is if we get more teams.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's always a possibility. 20 of them right now, I would have never imagined many, many years ago that we would have 20 teams, but it's worked out well. 17 of those teams are based here in the greater Cincinnati area, as you know, 3 of them from the Dayton area, which we welcomed in over the last couple of years, the Dayton Braves, the Dayton Mudcats, and the New Carlisle Knights. And some of the fields we use when we play those teams, making this possible, the Franklin Field, which has turned out to be just a terrific addition for us, a field that hardly ever rains out. It's a grass field, but those guys do a great job. Tip of the cap to them up there in Franklin at the Municipal Park, home of the Dayton Braves. We play a lot of games up there. We're using Springboro again this year. That's a field that's kind of in between, the Cincinnati and the Dayton guys. A lot of the Mudcat guys are a little bit closer down towards Centerville, so that's going to have a good landing spot for them. And we're also going to use Action Sports when the Dayton teams play one another. They can kind of get a game up there in the 937 area code and not have to travel down here to Cincinnati. And a couple other spots we're going to use. We're going to use Fenwick, Middletown Fenwick. Yeah, that's a park that we just started using last year. Another good one right off of I-75 up near the Middletown area. So a chance to get some games in with the Dayton teams. I'm glad we were able to accommodate that. The logistics when we first started it looked like it might be difficult, but I think it's worked out pretty well. When we've added the 3 Dayton teams, the travel's really not much of an issue.
Yeah, I think it's really good because a lot of those bring it kind of that halfway mark where both teams don't have to travel that far and be able to meet up and halfway for each of them about the same distance. And again, it makes us helps us grow the league with these extra teams and stuff coming from the Dayton area, which you get a lot of those guys that are right on that borderline, right? That are just above the 275 loop that play up there, and so a lot of us have played together in other leagues or been against each other in other leagues, different things like that. So I think having these the extra fields that we have, which I remember when this league started, I think we may have had half this amount of fields. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing some of and the people taking good care of the field. So of course I will lay pride to my home when they're the Highlands Field. So hopefully
Highland Park.
We'll get some good ones in there. Also, any investors out there looking, we're trying to raise money. But
shameless plug, right?
Yeah, there it is. I know there is actually really a push to get us turf there next year, and if they turf that up, that will bring a lot of things there, and hopefully even with our league and stuff, maybe we'll be able to get some in there. But the other field over in Cincinnati that's going to be new next year is over there in Ross. Isn't that the new
Ross
Brooks
Park in St. Bernard? Yeah, they're going to do the Palace of the Fans, and supposedly, from what we understand, a Cincinnati Reds rehab project going to be turfing the infield, and hopefully they'll let us old guys get out there and use it.
Yeah. I just saw where they're going to name it after, I believe it's Brooks Robinson that we just lost here not too long ago, right? That I believe that's who
Frank Robinson.
Frank Robinson,
absolutely.
My fault there. Yeah, so Frank Robinson, that's going to be nice. Looking forward to another good field popping up, and
well, those Reds Community Fund fields usually turn out very well. Those guys know what they're doing, and in addition to the field that you had mentioned in St. Bernard, Ross Park, they're also going to do one over in Bellevue, Kentucky, over on your side of the river. They're going to do I think a Veterans Park over there, so that may be another possibility for us in northern Kentucky. Yeah, absolutely. That's actually underway right now. If I'm not mistaken, it's not going to be ready for us this year, of course, but it's supposed to be done, I think, by the end of this season. I know they started, putting a lot of stuff in over there. I have not had a chance to go down there and check that out yet, but from a few guys and a couple of the coaches over there in northern Kentucky, we've been talking that they're getting it in there. So can't wait to see that. And on your side of the river too, Ray, if you can talk to this a little bit, we have a game scheduled next Wednesday night. I have the Tigers and Brewers playing out at Cordero, and from what I understand, new field surface out there. Yeah, they actually went out and leveled off the infield and ripped up the old sod there, and they went ahead and resodded the infield. They were also rebuilding the mound.
I did not see it today. If any progress was made due with the rain and stuff like that, I didn't get a chance to go that way. But I know they were rebuilding the mound. I saw some bricks being laid out there and getting some clay out there, and they had a couple big dumps of new dirt to lay down over on the field for the infield and stuff. So hopefully they'll be able to get that. Biggest thing over there, over here with that is we get the major rains, and unfortunately sometimes that causes some problems down there. But they really do work on that one, and I'm hoping that the infield and stuff holds up good and gives us a nice another place to play, because that is actually, it sits down in the hill, but it's actually a fun place to play. So
absolutely. Well, Ray, I'll give you another field that you want to check out this year. That Deer Park High School put $26,000 into their field. One of the guys working on that, in fact, is a guy who plays in our league for the Reds and Steve Armstrong, and Sean Rogers, a very talented guy. He helped level off that infield. I was over there a while back when we finished off the contract to get the games in over there. They worked on the mound. They widened the baselines a little bit, and it looks like just a completely different place to play. Should be a wonderful addition to the league this year. We've had Deer Park in the past, but I know you've played there a few times. It's one of those spots that used to always hold water out behind second base, and the rainouts were just there were a lot of them at that ballpark. Hopefully, with this new improvement that they've made, we can kind of cut down on that a bit.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm glad to hear that. Anytime that people put initiative in and make these ball fields better, so that's gonna be a good thing, because you hate to see those rainouts. Plus, you don't want taking the injuries. We're not as agile as we were when we were younger, so when we have that, it's nice. And I know we got some young guys in the league, but we still got some of us old guys, right? So.
Absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned that too. We start our 32nd season, or we did start our 32nd season just a few days ago. I thought it would be worth mentioning, Ray, Mel Cattleman, the guy who started the league. He runs the Deerfield team right now. Been around for all 31 seasons. A few guys, if I make any omissions on this list, my apologies in advance, but you're certainly going to be familiar with a lot of these guys. Pat McCaffrey, who plays for Deerfield, been around almost the entire time. Everybody knows Mark Nicastro, otherwise known as Chief. He's been around since the beginning of time. I think Chief's social security number is 1. He's so old.
Yeah.
Pete Coleman has been around a long time. Ben Vogelsang, Pat McVeigh, Pete Sherman. A lot of these guys still in the league. It's so great that they've been around for such a long time and still playing at a high level. It's an inspiration to guys like you and I to continue playing at even our advanced ages that we are right now. These guys are certainly an inspiration to see these guys still out there getting after it.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially, I'll reach out on that one with Pat McVeigh being a teammate of mine. Pat is a specimen for his age. Being able to still do this, it's just amazing. The guy can outrun guys still 30, 40 years old and out there playing. So it's great that we got such a mix, and it shows when people stay in the league, that means we're doing something right. So,
absolutely.
Well, I would say I think it's about time we might want to take a look and see this week and go ahead and pick up a game of the week, and I'm going to take a look here and see which one kind of stands out to me, and I want you to do the same, and we'll see which one we go with. But
and most importantly, Ray, let's hope that we get all these played this week. No more of that rain that came in last weekend and ruined pretty much the entire schedule with the exception of the game on the turf field. But as you look over the schedule there, Ray, some games that certainly stand out. You've got the Braves and the Dodgers. That looks like a pretty good matchup out at Foundation. The Flying Tigers, who changed their name from the Flying Pigs. That used to be a team called the Braves. Used to be the Astros. If you're following along, it dates back to the Astros teams that were always so good. So that's certainly a team that can give you fits, taking on a Bulls team that's been really good over the last couple of years. We alluded to the Deerfield Hustle game. To me, that's the one that sticks out. I look at that one and think those are two teams that potentially could be there at the end in October.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was looking at that. That's one that stands out to me, and the other one that stands out to me is just for the knowledge of knowing some of the guys there at play, is that with what we saw first game is the Reds and the Mudcats out at Schoolhouse.
Yeah.
That could be another one too. So